Blog Talk Radio.
Something's gone wrong. For all our vigilance and battle-scarred over the Bill of Rights, we let the flame of freedom's torch grow cold. Because there can be no torch to pass where there's no flame. Freedom has only one enemy it cannot defeat, and that is negligence. So your presence here, now, today, is an act of reverence. Of all man's works beneath the heavens, none shines brighter than our Constitution. I think Jefferson and Paine, Adams, Madison, Mason, Franklin, I think they're looking down right now at us. I think they understand what we're trying to do, what we strive to do. Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard.
Good evening, everybody. This is Joe Joseph here, along with my good friend A.C. Griffith. Griff, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing just fine. Looking forward to the broadcast tonight.
As am I. Folks, what a treat we have for you tonight. Tonight, our special guest, Michael Badnarik, the 2004 Libertarian presidential candidate, and also the author of the book, Good to Be King. Michael, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Thank you.
Outstanding. Welcome to the show. Let's get right into it. Boy, the country sure isn't going in a positive direction, you know, and it's really troubling to see the absolute lethargy of just everybody in general. How do you feel about all this? What's your feeling and what's your take about the current climate of the country?
I started studying the Constitution about 28 years ago, and the first conclusion that I came to was that most of what the government does is unconstitutional. And my first reaction to that was denial. I mean, that couldn't be true. I mean, there was no protests in the streets, people carrying signs. That had to be wrong. While I continued to do some research, I eventually read G. Edward Griffin's book, A Creature from Jekyll Island. And after reading that book, I realized I was wrong. The situation was much worse than I had imagined. And the good news is that over the last 2 or 3 years, people have been waking up. More and more people are aware that we have economic and political problems. You can't throw a stick without hitting a freedom rally someplace. You've got the Oath Keepers and the Tea Party rallies. You got the Continental Congress 2009, Restore America plan. All these organizations are spontaneously springing up across the country because people recognize that this is not the America they want it to be. Now, part of the problem is that they recognize that there is a problem, but they're not really sure what the problem is or how to solve it. And that's why we are still struggling at this point. But the good news is that people are looking for an answer, and things like my Constitution class and your radio program are getting people the answers. And you and I just have to be prepared for other people to be in denial. Joe, it couldn't possibly be that bad. No, tell me you're wrong. But eventually they will realize over and over again that the things that we've been telling them are coming true. And I anticipate in the very near future a major swing in the direction of liberty. Now, I believe that there may be some hostility between now and then. The people who are currently in power are not going to just voluntarily walk away from it. And so I think that at this point, things have gotten so bad that we will see bloodshed in the United States before we restore liberty. But, liberty springs eternal. I mean, there is no way to kill that desire to be left alone and to be able to, work for a living and to keep your profits and to not have people take your things away from you.
Yeah. God gave us all free will, and no one, that's a hard concept to grasp, free will to most people. They don't realize that they have free will. They have the choice to either accept it and go along with it, or they can say, no more. I'm not going to do it anymore. I can't take it. And that's the thing that we try to pound in, is that you have the choice. The choice is yours. Now, it may be a difficult choice to make, and the road is going to be bumpy for sure, but you do have that choice. And there's consequences to it. There are benefits to it. So I don't know, Griff. Now you heard what Michael just said. How do you feel about it? Where do you think this is going?
I agree with what you said, Michael. I can't help but believe there will be pockets of bloodshed before this contest is resolved between the people and government. I have some pretty profound thoughts on that, but I am reluctant to put them over the air because come down on me and I'd be in prison tomorrow morning if I really expressed myself on that. I think the only thing that is total collapse and then rebuilding, and it's going to be brutal, I'm afraid. But I don't think we will only have to contend with the civil unrest, the battle between those in government and the people. I think there'll be a mixed bag of other events, catastrophic weather and Gulf situations, and probably war situations, the fallout and the attack in America by Arab forces as a result of the Israeli attack on Iran. It'll be a mixed bag of those things also, I'm afraid. What do you think, Michael?
I agree that, when you started, you said that the system is going to collapse and we're going to have to rebuild it. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely true. The question is, what is going to be rebuilt? And people like you and Joe and I want to rebuild a system devoted to private property and liberty. The people who are currently in power would be happy to let it collapse so that they could rebuild it in a more socialist/communist form. They want to convince everyone that the best way to control everything is to give the government the power. The government will build it, and it'll be solid, and we won't have any of these disagreements. And you're true. That's right. You won't have disagreements because there won't be any freedom of speech. You won't be allowed to disagree. And we currently have a law, presumably a law, the Homegrown Terrorist Act, which in Reader's Digest summary says that if you say anything bad or negative about the government, that you are a homegrown terrorist. So by teaching my Constitution classes, every weekend if possible, and starting with the concept that most of what the government does is unconstitutional, I have no doubt that I'm on a list, if not many lists, somewhere as a homegrown terrorist, as a radical. There are a couple of organizations that have already listed me as an extremist radical racist, which it's ludicrous.
It's comical too,
it would be hysterical if it wasn't so serious.
Right, exactly right. Well, I guess my question to you, Michael, is outside of the constitutional aspect of things, and taking a look at the big picture of the world as it stands right now, have you ever noticed or known a time in your lifetime where you've seen so much kind of chaos coming to fruition at the same time?
No, I don't think it's ever been possible before. Mm-hmm. during the American Revolution, I mean, even the 13 colonies had trouble communicating back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
We were at war with England, and information took 2 months to cross the ocean. So by the time the status report went to England, the king made a decision, with what to do. I mean, it was 4 months later or more. Even during the Civil War, I'm going to take a risk here. I think we had telegraph at the time, where you could communicate back and forth with your troops, but still, even with the railroad, it took nearly forever to get from north to south. Well, now with airplanes and the internet and cell phone communication, we have almost instantaneous contact with everywhere in the world. The International Monetary Fund has been devaluing the economy of all the countries around the world. Greece has been having riots within the last year. England is suffering Great Depression. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that the United States is in economic turmoil. And I think that you're right. I think this is the first time in human history where so many people and so many countries are undergoing this kind of flux and this kind of chaos all at the same time.
Yeah. No, you're right, and it's really a. I can't help but feel I feel a sense of dread for what's to come, but I also feel a sense of, I don't want to call it excitement, but I don't want to. I feel a sense of hope about reemerging as something better on the other side if we can get to that point. And I certainly hope that we can. I'm just kind of concerned with all of the other, like I said, all the other things that have popped up recently in the news. For instance, the one of our hosts on here is John Moore. John Moore is a ex-Green Beret, and he has a lot of good contacts within the government and other sources as well. But his focus is on the Gulf Stream and the slowing of the Gulf Stream and how it's been affecting the environment. And Russia Today came out with a news piece where they confirmed with EU scientists that this could very well be the coldest winter that we've seen in 1,000 years. Now you couple that with the precarious situation with our economy and the fact that we're a fossil fuel driven economy, and that this type of event can not only wreak havoc on the food supply, but it can also wreak havoc on the way people heat their houses. It'll drive up the prices of fuel, and it could have a detrimental effect on the economy. So we could be seeing the start of a cataclysmic chain of events here in the near future. How do you feel about that?
I have just recently heard about this weather phenomenon where this is supposed to be the coldest winter. And let me start by saying I left the Chicago area because cold and snow are four-letter words. and I moved to Texas because, well, we do have winter in Texas. About 5 years ago, it was on a Tuesday. And unfortunately, early this year, I think it was in February or March, we had 12 inches of snow in Dallas. And frankly, I was horrified. I knew what that stuff was, and I moved to Dallas because they don't have that kind of snow. So if this coming winter is going to be colder than the last, we're going to see more than just snowmen, in all the front yards here.
Right.
And we may see Texans putting tire chains on their pickup trucks just to get through the snow.
Right. But, I mean, think about it. The infrastructure isn't set up for that in a